on uh, on a live demo of the security testing only. Okay, I have some sample apps, sample codes, and all where we I'll also share with you the stuff that we will be doing here. You can also try your hands, and by the time we are discussing things and all. So this is going to be exciting. ABCs of security testing. I'll briefly introduce about myself. I'm Atmaram. I'm working as a test manager here in SEDIN. Most of you know because last time also I introduced myself. I'm around having 16 years of experience in testing and a lot of hands-on testing I'm doing still till now. So that's pretty much about me. Um, to start with, uh, how many of you know keylogger? You can raise your hand. Keylogger. What is keylogger or just a second? I think I can't. Okay, nobody has raised the hand. Okay, Deepak knows what is keylogger. Anybody else? Okay. How many of you have built the keylogger? Okay. Okay. So, not to boast about myself, but I built the keylogger when I was in college. I was passionate about hacking and testing security and all. So I'll tell you a story about that keylogger first. So when I was in second year junior college, second year BSc, I was doing BSc in information technology. We had access to our lab actually. So on this lab, most of the folks used to supposed to use this lab for studying and accessing internet for studying and all. But they used to connect that time like 16 years back. They used to connect Yahoo chats and Google chats and all those things actually. And we built a keylogger. We installed it on each of our machines of our college lab, and then after like 4 5 days we had a data of passwords of all Yahoo accounts of all the people who were accessing Yahoo and Google. We published that and we said like you just change your password, but if you access such of your uh, uh, sensitive accounts from public internet or places where computers are shared or something like that, possibility that there is a keylogger installed are high and you might lose your passwords to that. And there is a different story how we build that keylogger and all. But that's just that I'm telling you this story just to build about the sensitivity of security, right? Like why it is important to secure the things from the software perspective, the way you handle software, the way you access software and all. So that was an interesting story about keylogger that we had. But today's session we are going to talk about basics of web application security. Web application means most of you folks, either developers who are building applications on ROR or some sort of other development frameworks like React or some sort of backend technologies like Rails server or Spring Boot or Java. If you don't know these things, don't know these principles of security, how it could lead to the security and all, uh, possibility that you will end up in an insecure application is so high. And I can definitely tell you that most of the projects that we are working on right now might already have these kind of vulnerabilities, these kind of security issues. I will tell you another story. We had a client. We started with their POC like 2 weeks trial engagement, and in that trial engagement, we tested their application, and they already had this vulnerability. And the impact of vulnerability is like anybody on the internet could download all the data they have in their servers because of those kind of vulnerabilities actually. And we are going to talk about the impact of these vulnerabilities that we are going to talk about. Vulnerability means actually uh, uh, compromised code or compromised gateway on the application which could leak sensitive information or data to the public domain or hacker to the attacker actually. Okay, so we are going to talk about ABCs of security testing, but before moving that, I will talk about the agenda. So we are going to talk about OAPS. OAPS is one of the organization which helps, which has an open source initiative. I will talk about OAPS. What is OAPS top 10? Then we will take like we won't be able to go through each and every kind of vulnerability. So I have took some examples which are my favorite and which are more critical to be tested. Like when we are doing testing, we should be basically testing these things, and when we are building, we should be basically building for these vulnerabilities not to be present. So I have to those 3-4 kind of vulnerabilities, which I will show you actually demonstrating like how those kind of vulnerabilities can arise and how we can fix as well. Okay. So beginning with introduction to OAPS, how many of you know what OAPS is? Can raise their hand. Okay, so nobody knows OAPS. So that's okay. Queenie knows OAPS. So that's good. OAPS is the thing that every software developer and every software tester should know, because when you are testing something for security, when you are building something for security, you must at least know this open source guidelines, open source principles with which you should build. Now, what is OAPS? OAPS is an Open Web Application Security Project. OAPS is an international non-profit organization dedicated to web application security. One of OAP's core principle is that all of their materials be freely available and easily accessible on their website. So OAPS is an open community, open source community. So whatever material they publish regarding standards, security practices, and how to detect vulnerabilities and all, it's all freely available. You can explore it, you can learn more about it. It's all freely available. The material they offers include documentation, tools, videos, forums. Perhaps their best known project is OAPS Top 10. Now we'll talk about OAPS top 10 as well. But before going that, I will show you what OAPS, how does the OAPS site looks like. I will share this link with you as well so that you can also go through it. So I'm sharing all of the links in chat. So this site is my go-to site to refer to any kind of security issues or any kind of learning more about security testing and all. This site is my go-to site. That's why I thought of sharing OAPS at least with you. Now, going back to the OAPS top 10 project. So what is OAPS top 10? So OAPS time to time publishes top 10 vulnerabilities. Top 10 vulnerabilities means these are the vulnerabilities which are mostly found and mostly ignored in the applications actually. Whatever web applications are built in the software world, they conduct surveys and other stuff and all, and they publish a list of top 10 vulnerabilities which are mostly found, which are mostly ignored. Like this was published, this 2021 list was published in 2021. Broken access control, cryptographic failures, injection, insecure design, vulnerable and outdated components, identification and authentication failures, software and data integrity failures, security logging and monitoring failures, server-side request forgery. These are the top 10 which are recently published. But to learn more about the top 10s, you can go to their top 10 page. So this is the top 10 page from where I copied these 10 items. But you can go through each of the items in details. For example, what is this vulnerability? How to prevent example attack? They have all material available over here, like what this vulnerability means and all. So this is again why I said this is my go-to site, because it's not just about educative site about what could be the issue. They also tell you about how to prevent the issues and how these issues can arise and all. So these were the only two theoretical slides I wanted to present. And let's get started with broken access control. And one of the category in broken access control is broken authorization. So I would like to ask you a question again, all of you. Um, what it means by authorization? Anybody can explain?
So authorization is basically when we have the privilege to access a resource.
Okay. And what does that privilege, how does that privilege is established, like through by which mechanism?
We can have like different mechanisms. Like I'm aware of the bearer token, the JWT token, the token which
Hmm.
gets generated. So that validates our credentials and post that we get the access.
Okay. Okay. So as Queenie said, authorization means uh, whatever. So I will go back to the diagram. So this is like, let's say, server of the web application which is hosted, and there are multiple resources. Resource means something which you can access from the server by sending the URL and all. Now, when you want to access the resource, uh, uh, some resources might be tied up with certain user accounts or certain entities in the system, right? For example, admin users or normal users or something related to admin user can be accessed by admin user, something related to normal user can be accessed by that normal user as well, or some admin can access the other users data or all, right? So this is called as authorization, where where server actually authorizes for the things which should be accessible and which should not be accessible by the user. Now, how the attack happens over here is attackers try to access resources without providing authorization information. And let's see that. Okay, I have one sample application. So, so I created different branches on the source code so that we can demonstrate the vulnerabilities. I'll share this Postman collection with you. Okay. So, so this is a link to Postman collection. You can download it in your Postman. But let me first of all tell you about the APIs. So we have a simple to-do application, okay, where user can sign up. So for example, I can sign up with username ATMNK and password ATMNK. And once I sign up, I get a token which I can use for doing further things. Token means this token we can be used for doing further things. For example, and here in this collection, I have a script which will set this token as a token variable. And in create, we have something called as a create to do. Like I can create a to do, and there is authorization information which is being passed to this like bearer token. And if I send this bearer token, I was able to create to do. Now let's try to see if I don't pass bearer token, what happens. So I said no auth. So it gave me 403 forbidden. So it means this endpoint is at least secure. This creation of to do is at least secure. Okay. Now I created to do. Now I will get all to dos again with bearer token. Okay, I am getting all the to dos when I pass bearer token. Let's see if I don't pass bearer token, what happens. Okay, so you can see I can get all to dos without even passing bearer token. Everybody got that?
Yes.
How about other? Those who
Yes.
are not able to understand can raise their hand.
Atmanam,
Yeah.
Yeah,
but for get all to do's, we don't need to authorize, right?
we
So
need to because get all to do will give us a to do related to that particular user only. So this
Okay.
information is for this user only. This user created his own to do, right? Okay.
Okay.
So get all to do will give us a to do related to that user only, not all the to dos in the entire application,
Mhm.
but the to dos which are related to me, like ITM, right? Now, if I pass my token, I'm getting all the to dos. But if I don't pass any token, I'm getting to dos created by other users as well. So this is other users' data, right? Which I should not have access. So what attacker might try is he might simply try this URL without even providing a bearer token, and he will see whether I am getting a data or not. And if he is able to get the data, this is a topmost critical vulnerability, like most critical vulnerability. You will able to download all the data in the application, right? So this is a topmost critical vulnerability, and this kind of vulnerability was present in the iLife application as well, which we uncovered actually. Now let's see what happens if I get a single to do. So we created this to do, and we got a ID of a to do as one, right? So there is this endpoint called as a get single to do, where I can pass IDs. For example, if I pass ID as two, it gives me 404 because that to do is not present. If I pass ID as one, it gives me that specific to do with ID one. Now what happens if I pass no authorization? Let's see. I still got to do, right? So this endpoint is also having broken authorization vulnerability. Means even if I don't pass any authorization, I am getting the data. Okay. Has anybody tried this now with the Postman collection that I shared? Can raise their hand. Okay, you can try this. I will share the source code as well later on as well. But this is like a broken authorization, which is one of the vulnerability that I wanted to demonstrate, where attacker can try to access resource without even providing authorization information. Now we'll go to the next vulnerability, which is called as insecure direct object reference within a broken access control category. I will tell you this kind of vulnerabilities are 98 or 99% present on most of the application if they are not taken care programmatically. Okay, and I will tell you why. So I am going to run a different branch of the same application. This is IDOR branch. First, let's understand what this vulnerability means. So insecure direct object reference means you can access a specific resource with a ID by some other user's authorization details actually. So for example, attacker will sign up like a user A. He can access his resources because he has signed up like a user A. So he can access his own resources. But when he tries his own token or his authentication details with other resources that of user B, he will be able to access those details as well if this kind of vulnerability is present. Any doubts on this?
No, Atmana.
Okay, so let's see this vulnerability in action. So because this entire application creates data in memory, I need to recreate the data. So I will sign up again with ATMNK. So I have signed up with ATMNK. Now I will create to do. So this to do is created. Now if I pass get all to do without any authorization details, so this broken access control is fixed now. That's why I am not getting any data when I don't pass bearer token. When I pass bearer token, I got the to do, right? And if I get a single to do without any authorization detail, I get 403 if I pass bearer token. So broken access control is fixed now. But let's see what is the issue here. So I had signed up previously with ATM-NK. Now let's see when attacker signs up, like ATM-NK1. Okay, I think this ngrok which I'm using is having issues. I thought of using ngrok because so you also can access, but I can anyway access this HTTP colon / localhost colon 8080. Let me sign up again with some other credential, ATM-NK2. So I have signed up with ATM-NK2. Now I am not going to create to do. I will try to get to do first. So I got 0 to dos because I haven't created any to dos, right? Now I will try to get to do. So you can see I was able to get to do, which was to do 1, which was created by previous user, some other user. And this token, which is here right now, this token is this user's token, which attacker was created. Attacker was created using this token, right? When attacker was created, he got this token. And when I tried the same token, if you can see, this is the same token which I tried. I tried with attacker's token. I was able to access the data created by the other user, ATM-NK. So this is called as a insecure direct object reference, where uh, this is direct reference to an object. The ID is direct reference to an object. I can access this object, this to do, because it is made insecure. Any authorization can access this information. So how would you prevent this in your application? Any developers here who can throw some light how you can prevent this?
Based on user ID, so we need to check like we need to.
Sure, yeah. So that's how generally this, so that's why I told you these issues are generally present if not specifically coded for. So when you are trying to get to do from the repositories or anything in your backend, right? You need to check whether that to do belongs to that specific user or not. If it is belonging to that user, then only you allow access to that specific to do. Otherwise, you throw an exception which will convert into the 403 error or something like that. We will see fixed version of this application as well for this specific vulnerability. So I'm going to show you the fixed version of this application. So I'm going to show you the source code as well. First of all, so all this source code is written in Kotlin, but it's pretty much similar to Java. So this is a to-do controller. So you can see over here, if you see over here in the get API, get mapping, we are getting by ID. We are directly finding the to-do by ID from the repository. And if to-do is present, we are directly returning it, right? So this is the cause of insecure direct object reference, because we are directly finding to do by ID and we are directly giving it, serving it to user without any mechanisms to establish where, because if you see this to do in to do repository, we have, um, uh, so I'll tell you like this to do v3, this entity has all the data which is required. For example, title, status, created at, updated at, ID and all. Okay. but we are not, and username as well, which user created it, right? But we are not using username anywhere to establish whether this to do belongs to this specific user. Now I'll show you fixed version of this application. I'll check out. First, let's try to run the application with the fixed version. Let me sign up using ATM-NK. I have signed up. Now let me create to do. I have created to do. Now if I don't pass authorization, I get 403. If I pass authorization, I get to do. I can get single to do by bearer token. Now let me create a second user, ATM-NK1. Now I will create a to do. I'll name it something else. Okay, I don't need to create a to do. Let us try to get all to dos first. So it gave empty list. Now let us try to get single to do. So it simply gave 404. So 404 is also good error. It's not necessary that you should always throw 403 or something. For end user or attacker, it's not necessary. They shouldn't even know that such kind of to do exist with this ID or not. So that's why 404 are generally good rather than 403, because with 403 you are also revealing the information that this resource exists, but you are not allowed to access this resource. So sometimes so it depends on your standards that you establish with your REST APIs. Some people throw 403 error, or some people throw 404 error as well. 404 simply indicates that this resource doesn't exist for you actually. It means like this resource doesn't exist. So user is not even aware that whether such kind of to do exists with this ID or not, right? Now, suppose if I create another to do, if I get this single to do, I will get this to do because this belongs to me. This is not insecure direct object reference. This is like this belongs to my account, so I can get this. But if I try to get something which belongs to other account, I get 404 error. Now let's see the code, how it is fixed. So you can see in to-do repository, we created a method called as find by username and ID. So every single to-do that we are getting with two combinations, find by username and ID, and we are getting username details when we are authenticating things actually. So most of the frameworks provide you a ready-made mechanism to get the user details from the tokens and all, right? So we are getting user details. So from that user details, we are getting username, and we are simply finding to do by username and ID rather than just ID. So we are having two conditions over here. Yeah.
Hospital கூட்டிட்டு போயிட்டு
Okay, okay.
போயிட்டு
Sure,
sure.
sure.
delay ஆயிடுச்சுன்னா then continue.
Sure, sure. Carry on.
Yeah, Dinesh.
Hey, sorry, I was speaking here. I should put
Oh,
on.
okay.
Sorry.
Okay. I thought you are asking something. So here we are getting to do by username and ID. So there is and condition over here that if the user is this and ID is this, then only give the to do. So this will return optional of to do actually. Optional means to do either exist or not exist. So if to do is present, then only we are serving to do. Otherwise, we are throwing an exception not found, and which is converted into 404 error on the application. Any doubts on this? Any questions so far? So you can see, right? We need to specifically handle these things in our application. We need to specifically code for such preventing such vulnerabilities, and it's not ready-made available most of the times. Like when the authentication related data is present in databases and all, then we need to specifically code for such things. Sometimes you need to specifically code for role-based authorizations and all actually. Okay. Any questions on this? Any doubts?
Hey, Atparam, just wanted to
Yeah.
add one more thing here. So all these things that we are
Yeah.
talking about, right? This is for private content, right? Like to do, if it is my private content, that is good to have this. But what about the cases when I need SEO, right? You know, these content should be publicly available, right? So
Yeah, in case of publicly available things, there is no authorization, right? So we are talking about broken authorization. All of the time we were talking about broken access control. Like wherever there is a need for access control, and if it is not established, then it is a vulnerability. So for public content, there is no access control established, right? Access control needs. So there is no need for those things.
right, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Now we will go to another category of vulnerabilities, which is again one of the OAuth's top 10 vulnerabilities, which is called as a injection. And injection means you can inject things into your application via end facing interfaces, and application can reveal sensitive information if it is not coded properly. How many of you know SQL injection? Can raise their hand. Okay. Or can ping in chat. I am not able to see participants list. I think I closed that window. Okay. So Queenie knows, Rajesh knows SQL injection. So can anybody tell me what is wrong with this query? So when we were seeing login and all, right? Some similar information, some similar query might have been written in the backend, right? Select name or select star from user, where username is into double quotes username and password into double quotes password. Yeah, right? But there is something wrong with this query. Let's see what is wrong. So there is this, I'll share this URL with you folks as well. There are multiple sample sites and application which are created for practicing these things actually, folks. So you can learn these things online. Even yesterday only I searched for these samples because I was hesitant on creating so many code for this thing. So this is one of the sample for practicing SQL injection. So you can see query is select name from username and password. Let me run this as an application. So it says, pass me username, pass me password. So let me try admin and some password admin. It says invalid username and password. Now I will tell you that if I pass something like this, admin, this is SQL injection kind of injection, admin or 1 is equals to 1 dash dash. Let's see. Okay, password I can give anything. So I got into the application. So what did we did? Let's see again. So what we did is, so if you see this query is constructed. This first of all, this query is handwritten. Handwritten means the entire string of the query is constructed using string mechanisms and all, right? And here you see username is sandwiched between these two parts of the query. So what I provided to this query is I provided username, which will modify the query itself in such a manner that it will modify the query itself. So I provided admin with this SQL apostrophe, not apostrophe, what we call this symbol. Okay, with this symbol, so that username field is complete, and I injected an OR condition where 1 is equals to 1, which will be always true. Okay, and I injected double hyphens, which will ignore the rest of the, like it is like a comment character, which will ignore the rest of the conditions, actually password and all. Okay, so if I do this, this is called as a SQL injection. If I do this, just a second. if I do this admin or so or 1 is equals to 1 is a SQL override that we provided over here. We were able to log into the system with the administrative privileges. Okay, admin account. So this is called as a SQL injection. And there are multiple ways you can discover SQL injection, like sometimes filter parameters, query parameters in APIs and all are generally treated like are handcrafted in the query with the string manipulation. So how to prevent this kind of errors, this kind of vulnerabilities is never handcraft queries like this. There are inbuilt mechanism like prepared queries where you can parameterize queries with, and then prepared statements and prepared queries take care of sanitizing these usernames and all. If they contain such malicious characters like apostrophes and all, it will take care of those, and it will not allow those queries to get executed actually. So most of the modern frameworks like ORMs and all provide these mechanisms inbuilt rather than handcrafting queries with plain variables. Always stick to using queries which are using parameters or something like that. Okay, any doubts on this?
No, Atman.
Okay. So this we saw as a SQL injection. Now next one is my favorite, vulnerable level JavaScript, which is cross-site scripting. I'll tell you a story around this, okay? So when I was working in ThoughtWorks, I heard about this story in ThoughtWorks which happened some time back. So there was one guy, nobody knows what was his name and what he used to do, and nobody still don't know who he was. But what he did is there was some internal portal in ThoughtWorks where you can see employees details actually, like what is his job title and all, the way we have in KK, right? Where we can see employees details. So what he did is he put his information he modified his information such a manner that anybody who visits his profile, his entire profile data will be changed to the name Batman. So their first name will be changed to the Batman, last name will be changed to something else, and entire details will be changed related to Batman. And anybody who again visits this affected profile, their profile will also get changed to Batman actually. So this was a funny incident that we had in ThoughtWorks, and he was able to do this because that application was vulnerable to cross-site scripting actually. Okay, so we'll see what cross-site scripting is, and we'll see why such kind of security mishaps can happen. Okay, so to tell you what is cross-site scripting. Cross-site scripting means in your application the script is not handled or mistreated with the security, so that you can inject script into the front end in such a manner that anybody who visits that public page or any page, from their browser that script gets executed, and it can do many other things. Like if you visit my profile, for example, on Facebook, and if I have injected some script on my profile, if the Facebook has this vulnerability, then that script will execute on your browser with your account, and I can get all the data for your account. I can get access to all the data to your account. And how this kind of vulnerability can, so let's have an example of this. This is escapes kind of function. This site is alert to win. Alert one to win means, like, if you are able to alert one, alert means in JavaScript, in front end, if you are alerting something. So for example, I can show you over here. If I say alert, hello, it produces this alert, right? Hello. So if you are able to produce alert by injecting by injecting anything into the input boxes, then it means that application is vulnerable to cross-site scripting. So this sample site is given for practicing this alerting. So what problem you see in this script? Any problem you see? even by looking at the script, I was not able to figure out what could be the problem. But let's try to see whether we can crack this problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put hello. I will complete the code. Okay. So hello, hello. Console.log is hello. Now I'm going to, so there is single quote, right? So I will complete the quote and I will complete the bracket as well. And I will say colon. So you can see I am modifying the JavaScript actually. You can see in the output, I'm modifying JavaScript over here. And I will say alert 1. I will say this, but this JavaScript is not syntactically correct yet. So what I am going to do is console.log. Okay. So console output is hello. Okay, so it said I won because I was console logging the hello as well. That's why it said I didn't won. But you can see like it produced it, although it didn't produce alert on this application because this application just evaluates this function in a sandbox actually, not on this own application. So it will say if you were able to produce alert, you have won this challenge actually. So what I did is like if you can see over here, here it is console.log double quotes plus s plus double quotes and all, right? So I change this s value so that s itself becomes a script. So I added a script as a s actually. So this s will be sandwiched between all these script tags, and this script would look like something like this. Now, if you evaluate this script into, suppose if I evaluate this script into console, it produce alert 1, right? So this is what happening when I entered. So if your inputs are not handled properly and your script is not secure enough in JavaScript is not secure enough, then somebody can inject script from the input boxes actually into your application. Now, what does that mean? Instead of alert, I can send anything. I can just get local storage data, right? I can get anything. Local storage data will have token. I can get cookies. I can get local storage data, call API, get data and send it to others person or something like that, right? I can do anything. So alert 1 is just mechanism to alerting is just a mechanism to detect such vulnerability. But if you are able to produce alert by inputting something, it means there is a cross-site scripting vulnerability, and it can lead to any of the problem that I told you, like the Batman script. I will tell you. So what that guy did is like instead of alert 1, that guy injected a script into his account, his own account, by which could fetch the user's details, which could modify the user details, and which would affect user details as well with the script. So it will replicate the script. It's like a virus. It could replicate the script into user details account as well. So that's what that guy did, the Batman. We still know him as a Batman. And that was these were all stories about security, and with a practical demonstration I tried to show you. If you have any questions, any doubt, you can ask me.
So Atman, I have a question. So this cross-site scripting, we do it from the inspect element, and then we can identify it whether that is secure or not.
Cross-site scripting, yeah. So how to do cross-site scripting actually, right? Because over here the script was visible to us. That's why we were able to do the cross-site scripting. But definitely, so how you can do cross-site scripting is you can go into you can go into the sources of the application. So sources will reveal you whatever JavaScript is being run in the application, and you can maliciously scan the JavaScript. There are also some scanners available for cross-site scripting, whether your source code is vulnerable to cross-site scripting or not. So how to detect such issues? Like I was showing you from the principle of testing, how you can manually use detect these things, but there are multiple scanners available which are free and paid, which you can use to detect SQL injections, cross-site scriptings, and all actually. Okay. But the first two vulnerabilities which I showed you, broken access control and insecure direct object reference, those are kind of domain specific vulnerability, like right, where you need to have knowledge about domain, what kind of resources are being served and all. So that's why there are limited tools available to detect those kind of vulnerabilities. So when you conduct security audits, right, you will get to know about all these issues. So in my career, I got a good opportunity that I had access to all these audit reports, and most of the audit report used to say like this particular resource is insecure, has insecure direct object reference vulnerability. This resource has broken access control vulnerability. So I just showed you some of the critical issues actually, so that you can conduct this basic security testing on your application and see if those issues are present. These kind of vulnerabilities can lead to entire data leakage, actually maliciously affecting your entire application. That's why these are more important to detect actually.
Okay.
Okay, folks. So hope you liked this session. If you have any doubts, any question, if you need access to these repositories and all, I can share that with you. We will send up a follow-up email where we will share whatever resources we used to demonstrate all of these principles and concept. You can practice these things yourself so that you get to know. And do try this on your current application, whatever you are building, at least insecure direct object references and broken access controls. Cross-site scripting, SQL injections are generally not present because most of the people use ORMs and all, which give inbuilt mechanism to prevent from this vulnerability. In case you are handcrafting queries in your source code, then probability that having this kind of vulnerability is high. And cross-site scriptings are generally present if you are using something called as a dangerously set inner HTML in React and all. If you are not using, if you are directly putting HTML data as a HTML data as a HTML attribute without using dangerously set inner HTML. So in React there are certain features called as a dangerously set inner HTML and all, which prevents us from this kind of attack. Like you can inject HTML into the data fields, and that if you are using evals or something like that, those kind of things in your application, these kind of vulnerabilities can be present over there as well. Okay. Okay, folks. So that's it from my side. Kartika, do you have anything?
Thank you so much, Atmaram. I really hope this is going to be a good start for our people to start exploring security testing. Thank you once again. And folks, if you're really interested to give a talk on any of your topics that you find interesting, you can always reach out to Magesh and me. We'll help you to get started and to present your idea on this platform. Thank you. Thank you everyone for taking the time today to attend the webinar.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Atmaram.
Thanks all. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.